getting ready. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. We about to be live in the building. Let's see how we looking. Fix that on right. Put my headphones on, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get these headphones right. We about to get it together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining our State of Boxing Awards for 2023. 2023 was a year to remember for boxing. Hold on, I got to put the shades on. Y'all feeling good? I'm feeling good. Let's put the shades on. Get it right. All right, now we right. All right, we got it shaking. We got it. Everything's where it needs to be right now. Give me a little sip of this. That's a little Casamigos, a little tequila to bring in the new year. So, ladies and gentlemen, 2023 was a year to remember for boxing fans. We got big fights, big fights. We had David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. We also had David Benavidez versus Boo Boo Andrade. And in both of those fights, David Benavidez looked very impressive, and I feel like he raised his stock very well. We also had Devin the Dream Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko early in the year, and Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis at the latter portion of 2023. Devin Haney raised his stock as well. Other big fights that we had, of course, we know we had the big one with Abdul Wahid, the boxer formerly known as Tank Davis, versus Ryan Garcia earlier this year. Tank knocked Ryan Garcia clean out, and that was expected, but big hats off to Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis for kind of, being cultivators of the movement of everybody fighting everybody. I know the David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant fight happened before Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, but those two really, you know, got the ball rolling when it comes to the best fighting the best. Also, this year, we had big fights such as Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo, which was an unexpected fight. Nobody was really, clamoring for that fight, but that fight was unexpected, but a big fight. Jermell came for a check and he got out of there, with his health. I don't think he came to win the fight. Canelo did win that fight. Other big fights that we had Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Nobody was clamoring for that fight, but that fight showed us a lot. Tyson Fury needed that fight. I'm glad he didn't go into an undisputed fight with Alexander Usyk in that mind frame, or without the awareness to know that maybe his legs may be giving out. We also had Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor, which was a huge fight in the 140-pound division. And Teofimo Lopez, he got some get back in his career, because before that fight, if you watch Teofimo Lopez and Sandor Martin, after the fight with Sandor Martin, Teofimo Lopez was asking himself, do I still have it? And he came in that fight with Josh Taylor and showed the world why he is who he is. Also, we had the biggest fight of the year, Errol the Truth Spence versus Terrence Bud Crawford. I can't say enough about the performance that Terrence Crawford put on in the ring against Errol Spence. Spence, a lot of people are saying he was weight drained and he wasn't the same. Some people saying he was drugged before the fight. Whatever the situation may have been, trust me, if you know what you watching, Terrence Crawford was levels above Errol Spence. Errol Spence wasn't beating him that night, and I don't care if Errol Spence would have came in the ring at 200 pounds. Rehydration or not, Terrence Crawford got the business clear with Errol Spence. Other big fights that we had in 2023, we had Naoya Inoue versus Cool Boy Stephen Fulton. That fight happened over in Japan. Cool Boy Steph went over to Japan to defend his title against Naoya Inoue, and Inoue completely annihilated Cool Boy Steph. Knocked him out and outboxed him before that. I mean, he broke him down and took him out. Simple and plain. That's how that fight transpired. Other big fights that we had Emmanuel Navarrete versus Liam Wilson, which was not the biggest fight that the world wanted to see, but it was a great fight. So, 2023 does not owe us anything as boxing fans. I feel like I'm leaving out another big fight that we may have had. Let me see. We had some pretty good fights. The Day of Reckoning, the big heavyweight card. That's what I'm leaving out. The big heavyweight card that just happened on December 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve. You had Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. Anthony Joshua, he looked really good in this fight with Otto Wallin. But I must say, I think he had an extra boost of confidence after seeing Wilder lose. Not saying that he's scared of Deontay Wilder, but what I am saying is that Anthony Joshua, if Wilder would have knocked Parker out, maybe in the fourth, fifth round, completely cold, the pressure would have been on Anthony Joshua to have a great performance, being that he's the headliner. And that fight was supposed to happen between Wilder and Joshua, if both of those fighters win on a day of reckoning. But Wilder lost, and you can see it in Joshua's swagger on the way to the ring. He looked very, very relieved. Um, and he got in the ring as a happy fighter, and he did what happy fighters do, and he stopped Otto Wallin. Also on that card, we had Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder, the fight I was just talking about, and Joseph Parker put on a great performance, and he showed the world that Deontay Wilder is a one-trick pony. Now let's talk about Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder as a trainer-fighter relationship. You know, for those of you who don't know, Deontay Wilder and Malik Scott fought early in Deontay Wilder's career. And if you watch that fight, it looks like Malik Scott took a dive in the fight. I mean, Deontay Wilder probably was going to knock him out, but Malik Scott made sure he got out of there unscathed. He took a dive at the first hard shot that Deontay Wilder threw. It actually looks like Malik Scott parried the shot, still went down, slobbering at the mouth. They had to hit him with the smelling salt. And to make a long story short, now Malik Scott is Deontay Wilder's trainer. Wow. Um, I think that the transition from Mark Breland to Malik Scott did not fare well for Deontay Wilder. Not the least bit. Because What everybody was saying about Wilder was that Wilder could not box. So as a trainer, I get Malik Scott's stance on trying to make Deontay Wilder a better boxer. But if you watch that fight with Joseph Parker, Deontay Wilder was trying to outbox Joseph Parker. You are not a good boxer, and you should not be trying to outbox anyone. After the fourth or fifth round, I'm wondering, as a trainer myself, why is Deontay Wilder skirmishing along the perimeter of the ring instead of establishing his dominance in the center of the ring and not taking too many steps back. Joseph Parker did a good job of keeping Deontay Wilder on his back foot, but it was more so Deontay Wilder wanting to be on his back foot and not wanting to knock out. Wilder was saying it was timing and his inactivity, his time out of the ring. But that's nobody's fault but Wilder and his camp. You can get fights. You choose not to fight, and you fighting the active Joseph Parker who had fought 3 times this year compared to Deontay Wilder fighting once for 30 seconds. And before that, Deontay Wilder was on a layoff. So maybe in 2 years, you have fought for 30 seconds. Of course, you got knocked out. A lot of big fights on that card. Also, a heavyweight contender, Arslanbek Makudov, lost to Caballero. Caballero stopped him with body shots. Makhmudov, if you don't know, had been knocking everybody out cold, stopping them. He's a monster physically. He looks like a damn Viking from the Caucasoid Mountains, but he can't take a body shot. So that is pretty much the big fights that we had this year. We had other great fights. But now what I want to get into is the Rounds Boxing Club 2023 State of Boxing Awards. So, we're gonna just get into it, how we do it in a quick second, but I'll tell you how we're gonna hand these awards out. Basically, what we are doing. Let me take a pause for the cause and get a sip of this Casamigos. By the way, this live stream is brought to you by Casamigos. So, our State of Boxing Awards are, we came up with categories that we are going to hand awards out for annually. This is the first annual State of Boxing Awards. We're going to do this every New Year's Eve until we see otherwise. But we're going to hand out awards for all kinds of different categories. We got maybe like 10 or 11. And after that, we are going to count down our top 10 pound for pound. That's how we're going to end this live stream. Instead of counting down New Year's with a 10-second count, we're going to stop at maybe 30 seconds to the new year. And I don't know if you guys are picking up the fireworks we got outside. I don't know. I didn't have my mic set for that. You might hear that. It's New Year's Eve. It's festive. That's what we're doing here. But anyway, we're going to hand these awards out. And afterwards, we're going to count down the last 30 seconds of the year. We're going to count down our top 10 pound for pound fighters here at Rounds Boxing Club. So, the State of Boxing Awards, we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first category is going to be Comeback Fighter of the Year. Now, we're going to have nominees. Each category is going to have 3 nominees. We're going to hand out the winner, the runner-up, and the honorable mention award. So the nominees for Comeback of the Year, Jermall Charlo is nominated for Comeback of the Year here at Rounds Boxing Club. Jermall Charlo had been out of the ring going on 3 years as the WBC middleweight champion. Now he still has not returned to the WBC middle, well, not the WBC, but the middleweight division, nor has he defended his WBC title. But he looked very impressive in his return to the ring against Jose Benavidez Jr. Our second nominee for Comeback Fighter of the Year is Adrian the Problem Broner. Now, we all see Adrian Broner on social media. We've read the articles, and normally they are not positive headlines for Adrian the Problem Broner. But he did make his return to the ring this year, fighting under the Don King banner. Got him a win, and no, he didn't get the knockout, but Adrian Broner, the time that he had spent out of the ring, he did not need a knockout. He needed the rounds. And Adrian Broner got all the rounds in, and he also got the victory. And our last nominee for Comeback Fighter of the Year is going to be Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez, we all know he was going through issues, family issues, and he was starting to kind of looks like he was derailing just a little bit. If you watch him against Sandor Martin, we saw him get knocked completely senseless and beat up by Cambosos, George Furiosos Cambosos. But Teofimo Lopez, after the Sandor Martin fight, asked himself, do I still have it? And the mics were on, and you can actually see him question himself. Now, he won that fight against Martin, but most people who know boxing or know how to judge boxing know that Sandor Martin really won that fight. And Teofimo Lopez knows that himself. But Teofimo Lopez moved up to the 140-pound division and put on a very impressive performance against quality competition in Josh Taylor. So, our winner of Comeback Fighter of the Year is going to be Teofimo the Takeover Lopez. Got to give it to Teofimo. And I'm going to say the runner up for Comeback Fighter of the Year is going to be Jermall Charlo, being that he was out of the ring. And uh, that was tough to give, Jermall Charlo the runner up because I could have gave it to AB. Jermall Charlo did not make weight. Even he didn't even make the catch weight, but he looked very impressive. And I'm thinking he's not going to fight at 160 ever again. The WBC needs to go ahead and strip Charlo. Charlo's probably going to 168, and there's nobody I want to see him fight more than Caleb Plant. But we'll get into that in a minute. Our next category that we will be giving away is going to be Prospect of the Year in 2023. The first nominee for Prospect of the Year is going to be Jared Anderson, big baby Jared Anderson. He is a heavyweight. If you haven't had the chance to see him, he will be a heavyweight champion sometime in the next year or two. I imagine I give it maybe 3 years. Jared Anderson should be a world champion. What I like about Jared Anderson is he's a very active fighter. Oh, I believe Jared Anderson fought 3, maybe 4 times this year. So Jared Anderson was getting busy, and we saw him kind of take a few bumps in his career this year because he took a step up in competition. And when he fought Charles Martin, he looked a little, you can tell that the experience with Charles Martin was helping him throughout that fight and help him actually last the entire distance with Jared Baby Anderson. Second nominee is going to be Abdullah Mason. I do not know if you guys have had the opportunity to watch Abdullah the Ruler Mason. Abdullah Mason is a great boxer. He's a boxer puncher, and he has a killer, killer instinct. When it's time to go and time to finish a fight, you can believe that Abdullah Mason will do so. But he does it in a beautiful way. You know, he doesn't get hit a lot, and he's very fundamentally sound. And our third nominee for Prospect of the Year is going to be none other than Floyd Kid Austin Schofield. You know, Floyd Schofield, aka Kid Austin, that's a bad man. You know, he's in the 135-pound division, and you know he's been making his way up the ranks, and he's looked really, really good as of late. I don't know if you guys caught his last fight, but he got a knockout, a beautiful knockout in the first round. Came out there and looked untouchable. I believe Floyd Schofield has what it takes to give anybody in the 135-pound division problems, including Abdul Wahid. So our winner of Prospect of the Year. Now this was a tough one for me to decide. I mean, you know, I got to give it to Jared Big Baby Anderson. You know, as much as I like Abdullah Mason, Abdullah Mason's been really active too. But just I think Jared Big Baby Anderson took more steps. He stepped up more in his career this year to maybe not being a prospect to now he's more of a contender, a legitimate contender in the heavyweight division. So I'm going to give prospect of the year to Jared Big Baby Anderson. Congratulations, Big Baby. Our next category, this one is going to be the upset of the year in 2023. Now, there were a lot of upsets, and we are going to talk about our nominees for upset of the year. Our first nominee is going to be Brian Mendoza versus Sebastian Fundora. Fundora was the favorite in this fight, but Brian Mendoza came in there with the will and the passion to win this fight. Mendoza boxed beautifully and went on to knock out Sebastian Fundora, which could have possibly been a candidate for knockout of the year. We'll have to just wait and see if it did make knockout of the year. Other candidate for upset of the year is Joseph Parker versus Deontay Wilder. Now, this was I it was an upset, but it wasn't as shocking to me as other fights. You know, I actually thought Wilder would have beat Parker, but the fact that Wilder can't box, he can't rap a damn box. He can't listen. I wouldn't that surprised. Our third nominee for upset of the year is going to be Rafael Espinosa versus Robeisy Ramirez. Now, Robeisy Ramirez, of course, if you don't know, Robeisy Ramirez was highly touted coming out of the Olympics. Robeisy Ramirez beat Shakur Stevens in the Olympics. So, you know, that's just showing you how highly skilled Robeisy Ramirez is. Now, Espinosa, he wasn't coming in there as a cab driver. You know, we know Espinosa does have skill, but we did not expect him to look as good as he looked, beating Robeisy Ramirez by majority decision. So our winner for upset of the year is going to be Rafael Espinosa over Robeisy Ramirez. Our runner-up for upset of the year is going to be Brian Mendoza over Sebastian Fundora. And the honorable mention is going to go to Joseph Parker defeating Deontay Wilder. Our next category is going to be robbery of the year. Now, this category only has two nominees, so we're going to give away a winner and a runner up. And the winner, well, the nominees. Let's get to the nominees. The nominees for upset of the year. I'm sorry, robbery of the year is going to be Rayo Valenzuela versus Chris Colbert, the first installment. In that first fight, I thought Rayo did more than enough to get the nod, even though Colbert he boxed decent at spurts in the fight. But Rayo got the knockdown early and he hit him with the more clean, effective shots throughout the night. But Chris Colbert got the decision on the scorecards, which, if anything, that fight was a draw or Valenzuela won the fight. But Chris Colbert definitely did not win that fight. And my the other category for robbery of the year. Now, this isn't your usual robbery. Normally, when there's a robbery, that's a fight that goes to the scorecards. This fight did not make it to the scorecards. But my other category for robbery of the year is Daniel Dubois versus Alexander Usyk. How many of you all watched that fight? If you watched Usyk versus Dubois, you saw Daniel Dubois hit Usyk with a legitimate body shot, clean on the belt line, and it dropped Alexander Usyk. And Usyk laid on the ground and rolled around the damn ring between 5 and 10 minutes. The referee gave him extra time to get himself together. Now Usyk went on to win that fight and stop the boy, but that fight should have been declared a knockout win for Daniel Dubois, and Daniel Dubois should be a heavyweight champion. If I'm being all the way honest about it. So we'll go ahead and get into our winner for robbery of the year. I don't know if they're a winner for robbery of the year, but the biggest robbery of the year. The biggest robbery of the year is going to go to the fight between Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk. Like I said, that fight, Usyk should have lost that fight, and Dubois should have been the unified heavyweight champion of the world. Now, the runner up, Valenzuela and Colbert, is well deserving to be runner up because Valenzuela went on to get his retribution a few weeks ago by knocking Chris Colbert ass clean out. So, yeah, the boy, he got robbed. He got robbed really, really bad. So we're gonna get the robbery of the year to Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk. Our next category. Now, this is a great category right here. This is going to be the performance of the year. So, our nominees for performance of the year, we got Jaron Boots Ennis versus Roy Monvilla. If you guys watch that fight, first of all, Jaron Boots Ennis is a problem in the welterweight division, but he looks like a creative player. He looks like he's playing and one basketball when he's in the ring with some of the moves and some of the things that he pulls off, the way he can switch from orthodox to southpaw mid, like inside, you're not supposed to switch right in front of your opponent. Boots does it and does it in a wonderful and beautiful way. And at points in that fight against Roy Monvilla, Jerron Boots Ennis looked like he was asked by what was Lawrence Fishburne's name on The Matrix? Like they asked him red or blue pill, and Jerron Ennis took the right damn pill because He was in there looking like the Matrix. He looking like Neo off the Matrix. You hear me? Our second nominee for Performance of the Year is Terrence Crawford. The way he demolished Errol Spence. What can I say? Us boxing fans have been clamoring for this fight between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence for 5+ years. We finally got this fight, and it was one of the most one-sided ass whoopings I've seen in a long time. Listen, fights that come to mind when I think about the ass whooping that Terrence Crawford put on Errol Spence, I think about Floyd Mayweather and Arturo Gatti. I think about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, their second fight. I think about the way James Toney outclassed Holyfield. It was bad. It was bad. I mean, it was domestic violence. The way Terrence Crawford beat the hell out of Errol Spence. Um, and our third fight that was going to be Performance of the Year, our third nominee for Performance of the Year is going to be Francis Ngannou. No, he did not get the win over Tyson Fury, but the performance that he put on was amazing. And he didn't look that great, from an eye test. He didn't look that great as a boxer, but he did what we did not think he would do against Tyson Fury. Many people thought Francis Ngannou won that fight. He put he put Fury on the canvas with with a wonderful two-punch combination, and he looked like the stronger fighter. He had Fury falling all over the ring. And if that fight would have went 12 rounds, I don't know. Fury got lucky that that fight was 10 rounds. I thought it was a draw. I didn't think Fury won the fight. I thought the fight was a draw. I mean, Fury landed more punches, but you just got to watch that fight for yourself. And Ngannou put on a great performance. But anyway, let's get to our winner of Performance of the Year. And the winner of Performance of the Year has to go to Terrence Bud Crawford. The performance was amazing. I can't say enough about it. From the ring walk with Eminem, the lead up when you watch the press conference and he was getting into it with Arrow people on the sidelines, man, Terrence Crawford he put on a great performance. And our runner up is going to be it's going to be Jerron Boots Ennis versus Roy Monvilla. Uh, Jerron Boots Ennis, that was a hell of a performance. If you want to watch a good fight that's just aesthetically pleasing to the eye, go watch Jerron Boots Ennis versus Roy Monvilla. And the honorable mention, of course, is going to go to Francis Ngannou for his victory over Tyson the Gypsy. Well, not his victory, but his performance with Tyson the Gypsy King Fury. Um, Shout out to all of those boxers. And our next category is going to be disappointment of the year. What was the big disappointment of the year? We got our three nominees. The first nominee is gonna be Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. And I nominated that fight for disappointment of the year because if Deontay Wilder would have won that fight, then we were definitely getting Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder on March 9th. So, we've been waiting for that fight. We've been waiting for that fight since Ben. Our next nominee for disappointment of the year is Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos. Wow, you know that fight. You hear Shakur Stevenson saying things uh on social media saying that he would have beaten Manny Pacquiao and how he's the Southpaw Floyd Mayweather. Come on. and to get out and put a performance on like that, those Reebok boxing shoes they got him, shit, they must be really light because Buddy was moving his feet and Wood moving his hands. Um, Very disappointing effort by Shakur Stevenson. Our third nominee for disappointment of the year is going to be Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. Tyson Fury's performance was shit, completely shit. And I'm a Tyson Fury fan. You see him right here. He performed like shit in Saudi Arabia against Francis Ngannou. So we're gonna go ahead and hand out this award, if it's an award. But the disappointment of the year, uh, I got to go with Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. Tyson Fury is the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. He was taking on a man who never stepped in the boxing ring ever. He got dropped, kept falling around the ring, looked horrible during the fight. There was no bright spots to me for Fury. Fury, you were the big disappointment of the year, 2023. Runner up for disappointment of the year. Let's see. It got to be Shakur Stevenson because Shakur Stevenson's supposed to be able to box. It was either Shakur Stevenson or Deontay Wilder, and at least we know Wilder can't box. You understand what I'm saying? It's Shakur Stevenson because you talk too much. If he wasn't talking so much, maybe it wouldn't be so disappointing. But the fact that he's always on social media saying this, saying that, man, back it up. You know, one thing about boxing, like Benoit Hopkins say, it'll call you bluff every time. And I understand Stevenson may have had an injury, but I've seen fighters fight past injuries and put on a better performance than that. Times in that fight, Buddy actually turned his back and ran. It looked like, you know how in wrestling, when like the Ultimate Warrior used to throw Hulk Hogan off the ropes, it looked like Shakur Stevenson got through off the ropes and he was running to another rope at times in that fight. And the honorable mention is going to go to Deontay Wilder and his performance. You know, I couldn't give Deontay Wilder the win or the runner up because I believe that fight with Anthony Joshua still may happen. So yeah, even though it was a shit performance by Wilder, he didn't get the knockout, nor did he ever really look for it. Yeah, Shakur Stevenson and Tyson Fury, y'all take the cake, and you all are both going to be the disappointments of the year. Let's talk about the robbery of the year. Robbery of the year in 2023. Woo! This is going to be a crazy one. We got Rayo versus Cobra, Rayo Valenzuela, and we got I put it on here. I personally don't think it's a robbery, but a lot of the world does. I got Vasily Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. These are the only two nominees. I am going to have to give the winner of robbery of the year to Chris Colbert when he robbed Valenzuela. Um, yeah, Chris Colbert gets it. Chris Colbert, yeah, he robbed Valenzuela, and I'll give him robbery of the year. Let's head on over to knockout of the year. Now, this is one of our favorite topics in boxing. Um, we got Junto Nakatani against Andrew Maloney. Now, if you did not see that knockout, the whole performance by Nakatani was beautiful, but the knockout he hit, you know, you got to know that Nakatani is a southpaw fighter, and he was pawing that jab out, and he hit Maloney with an overhand left and completely crumbled him. Stopped the night. That was it. All she wrote. Good night, Irene. Our next nominee for knockout of the year is going to be Zhali Zhang versus Joe Joyce in the second edition. The second time they fought, Zhali Zhang hit Joe Joyce with a hook, and Joe Joyce fell flat on his face. Um, the other candidate for knockout of the year is going to be Brian Mendoza knocking out Sebastian Fundora. Sebastian Fundora and Brian Mendoza fight in the 154-pound division. Fundora is known as the Towering Inferno. He's very, very tall, a lot of skin and bones. I think I think if Fundora is like 6'5", 6'6", and he's 154 pounds. So that just tells you how lean he is. But up until the Mendoza fight, he had been really beating everybody up really bad because of his attributes. Well, Mendoza chopped that tree down, and he did it in a beautiful way. So let's give the winner away for Knockout of the Year. Knockout of the Year 2023 here around Boxing Club is none other than Zhali Zhang over Joe Joyce. Beautiful knockout. All three of these knockouts were beautiful. But Zhali Zhang, when you see a fighter fall flat on their face, that's it. Referee don't even have to count. And that's exactly what happened. Plus, these were heavyweights. So, the knockout, I don't know. I still don't know if we'll ever see Joe Joyce in the ring ever again. Let's go on to our next category, which is going to be Fight of the Year. Fight of the Year. So our first nominee for Fight of the Year is going to be Devin the Dream Haney versus High Tech Vasily the Matrix Lomachenko. Beautiful, beautiful, highly contested fight, all 12 rounds. Devin Haney, did get the decision in that fight. I thought that fight should have been a draw as well. And if anybody won, maybe Loma won, but it was such a close fight. I really can't call that fight a robbery. I know it was up for robbery of the year, but that was just because the media, everybody thinks it was a robbery. So I just had to say my piece with that one. But as far as fight of the year, oh, that fight is definitely a fight of the year. Worth going back and watch 10 times. Um, our next nominee for fighter of the year is going to be Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron. I was looking, I got my notes, and I was like, Taylor, what Taylor? Well, we talking about Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron. So we got some women's boxing up in here for fighter of the year. And if you watch that second installment, which is the fight we're talking about, both fights were great fights. But the second fight between Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron was beautiful. Beautiful performance. Katie Taylor did win that fight on the cards, but there it's boxing, and there's always some controversy. Chantel Cameron dropped Katie Taylor's ass in the first round, and the referee called it a slip. That should have been called a knockdown, and that maybe would have changed the whole landscape of the fight. But congratulations to Katie Taylor on that victory. Our third nominee for Fight of the Year is going to be Shock O'Shaquie Foster versus Eduardo Hernandez. Now, if you did not get a chance to see that fight, O'Shaquie Foster traveled over to Mexico to Eduardo Hernandez's hometown for that fight. Great fight all the way through the fight. And Eduardo Hernandez is a pressure fighter. He was doing effective work on Shockey Foster. Foster was doing a good job fighting back, but I had O'Shaquie Foster down on the scorecards. Well, late in that fight, I watched so many fights, I can't remember, but it was around 11 or 12. O'Shaquie Foster, those two were trading blows, but Foster hit Hernandez with a shot that hurt him, and O'Shaquie Foster was able to finish the fight and seal the deal and get the knockout. And even if that fight would have went to the scorecards, like I said, they were fighting in Hernandez's hometown. Hernandez probably was going to get the decision because he was doing probably the better work. Not sure how the judges had that fight being scored, but I had it for Hernandez all the way up into the knockout. So our knockout of the year winner is going to be I'm sorry, not knockout. Fight of the year. Fight of the year is gonna be fight of the year winner is gonna be Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron 2. Devin Haney and Lomachenko, yes, that was a great fight. That is our runner-up. But Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor, they fought a great fight, and I think they do deserve fight of the year. Honorable mention goes to Oshaki Foster for knocking out Eduardo Hernandez. Now, our next category is going to be promotional company of the year. Now, we only going to deal with, we got three nominees like we have for majority of our categories. So we got Matchroom Boxing and The Zone with Eddie Hearn. We got PBC, well, it's not Showtime anymore, but PBC and Amazon Prime and Al Heyman. And we got Top Rank, ESPN, and Bob Arum. Promotional wise, I have to every each one of these promotional companies gave us great fights this year, but the biggest fights came from our winner is going to be PBC, Al Heyman, and Amazon Prime. Well, we got to give the credit to Showtime. Showtime for this year. It'll be Amazon Prime in 2024. But Al Heyman and PBC are the promotional company of the year. They gave us great fights as Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Boo Boo Andrade, uh, Javante Davis, Ryan Garcia, uh, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, you name it, man. PBC, they did it, man. And yeah, they lost the contract with Showtime, or Showtime said that they're not going forward with boxing in 2024. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen with Premier Boxing Champions. Well, the PBC landed a deal with Amazon Prime, which could be bigger and better. You know, we get accustomed to things being a certain way, but sometimes it's good for new things and to see how they evolve. So, Premier Boxing Champions is going to be our promotional company of the year, and our second, our runner-up for promotional company of the year is going to be Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, and the Zone. That was a tough one. It's kind of hard between the Zone and Top Rank. But if you look at these cards that Matchroom is putting on in Saudi Arabia, uh, they're beautiful cards. They they got something beautiful going in Saudi Arabia. And that started way back with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz when they had their rematch. But no, that arena, the whole venue, it's a beautiful thing when you watch those fights out in Saudi Arabia. So big shout out to Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. And honorable mention is going to go to the old Mongoose, Bob Arum, and Top Rank. They did a wonderful job as well. They give us great fights consistently. Um, so big shout out to all three of the promotional companies. Our next category is going to be the last award that we're giving out here for our State of Boxing Awards, and it's going to be Fighter of the Year. And the nominees are, drum roll please. Our first nominee is going to be Devin the Dream Haney. Devin Haney had a remarkable year. Um, he defeated Vasily Lomachenko early in the early portion of the year. That fight was fought in the 135-pound division. Devin Haney successfully defended his undisputed crown at the 135-pound division. Then he moved up to 140 pounds and defeated the WBC champion, New Orleans' own Regis Prograis. But in that fight with Prograis, Haney was hit less than 40 times in a 12-round fight. And he was fighting the champion, mind you. It's not like he's just fighting a tomato can. Devin Haney looked great in the performance, and he made Regis Prograis look like a doormat. And we all know Regis Prograis, he can box. And he has power and he's tough. Devin Haney put Regis Prograis down in that fight early and probably could have gotten the stoppage if he would have pushed for it. But Devin Haney got the rounds, and that was a good thing, man, that was his first fight at 140. And now Devin Haney is the WBC champion in the 140-pound division. Our next nominee for Fighter of the Year is Terrence Bud Crawford. I can't say enough about the fight with Spence. Now, Crawford only fought one time. And that is my knock on Crawford this year. But shit, that one time, that performance that he gave us was everything. Everything. He demolished Spence. He did what he said he was gonna do. You gotta realize, man, they made up a whole imaginary street to keep the PBC fighters away from Terrence Crawford. And Terrence Crawford came over, and he came over and crossed the street, rented a room in a house on the street, and then kicked everybody out and told them that this was his block. Big shout out to Terrence Crawford. Our next nominee, our final nominee for Fighter of the Year, is the Japanese monster, Naoya Inoue. Naoya Inoue, he did some remarkable things in 2023. Naoya Inoue was fighting in 2022. Naoya Inoue was fighting at 118 pounds. And early in 2023, Naoya Inoue moves up to the 122-pound division. And then he defeats probably the number one fighter in that division, Cool Boy Steph, and knocks him out. I mean, he beats his ass down and knocks him out. Then, in the latter portion, or actually a couple days ago, on December 26th, Inoue knocked out Marlon Tapales, and now he's the undisputed champion at 122 pounds. That is unheard of. You move up in the division, the same year you move up, you become undisputed. You just don't see it. So let's go ahead and get to our winner of Fighter of the Year. Here at Rounds Boxing Club for the year of 2023, our Fighter of the Year is the Japanese monster, Naoya Inoue. This was hard, man, to really say who was going to get this Fighter of the Year award. But you got to give it. You got to give it to Naoya Inoue. Crawford only fought one time. Yeah, he became undisputed as well, but Crawford has been at 147. Naoya Inoue just moved up to 122 earlier this year and fought his first fight, and now he's the undisputed champion. Fighter of the Year is none other than Naoya Inoue. Let's see what are we looking at on time. Where are we on time? Let's see. We are getting close. This hours went by really, really fast. So let's talk about fights we want to see real quick. Fights that we want to see in 2024. Here at Rounds Boxing Club, fights that we want to see in 2024. We'd like to see the boxer formerly known as Gervonta Davis Abdul Wahid versus Shakur Stevenson. I feel like both of these fighters need each other. It's no one else in the 135-pound division we want to see them fight. I don't really want to see the rematch with Pitbull for Tank. I don't want to see Frank Martin versus any of them. Shakur Stevenson looked like trash in his last fight. And I feel like Gervonta Davis, not that his stock is dropping, but Devin Haney's stock is really rising. So both of these fighters kind of need this fight to kind of balance that playing field off, especially if Devin Haney is going to fight Ryan Garcia, which is also another fight that we'd love to see in 2024. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. Another fight we'd like to see in 2024 is Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Hopefully, yeah, Wilder just took a loss, but hopefully we do see that fight happen between Wilder and Joshua. It's been too long in the making. I think Joshua wins that fight, but you never know. Wilder does have that equalizer in the right hand. Another fight that we have to see, not just want to see in 2024, but we want to see and have to see Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. We need undisputed in the light heavyweight division. And these two have been running through all their competition in the light heavyweight division. It's time to see Bivol versus Beterbiev. Another fight we want to see is Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez in the 168-pound division. Canelo, what you gonna do? Who you gonna fight? I believe Canelo is at the not the tail end, but he's coming off the peak of his prime. He's not far away from the peak, but he is no longer in his prime or at his peak. He's maybe on the downside of his prime. I'd love to see Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo better make that fight happen sooner than later because the longer he waits, I think that gives Benavidez the better advantage. Of course, we need to see Fury versus Usyk. That fight is signed and it's supposed to happen February 17th. I don't believe nothing these people say until I see a press conference and see them guys weigh in. But that's a fight we also want to see in 2024. Another fight that would be beautiful to see is Rolly Romero versus Adrian Broner. Man, the lead up to that fight would be amazing. Hey, we got 30 seconds left. We're going to give you our top 10 pound for pound. Here we go. At number 10, we got Subriel Matias. Number 9 pound for pound fighter, we got David Benavidez. Our number 8 pound for pound fighter is Devin the Dream Haney. Coming in at number 7 is the boxer formerly known as Gervonta Davis, Abdul Wahid. At number 6, we got Artur Beterbiev. Number 5, we got Dmitry Bivol. Number 4, we got Saul Canelo Alvarez. At number 3, we got the Ukrainian monster, Alexander Usyk. Our number 2 pound for pound fighter is Naoya Inoue. And the number 1 pound for pound fighter here at Rounds Boxing Club to close out the year 2023 is none other than Terrence Bud Crawford. That is it, folks. That's a wrap on 2023. Happy New Year, 2024. Listen, we got a lot in store for you here at Rounds Boxing Club. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We will be back live January 6th for the Virgil Ortiz versus Frederick Lawson fight. It is New Year. I was very ecstatic to spend my last hour of 2023 with you guys, but we're going to have to call it a night. I got to go find my wife, take a few shots, get a kiss, say some prayers. Happy New Year, 2024. Be good to us. Peace. Hey, no, like, subscribe, protect yourself at all times. Peace.